Hey everyone! In this entry, we'll be taking a look at Madeline Madrigal, otherwise known as Mama, from the 2012 version of Dredd. A brutal and cold-blooded crime lord, Mama displays a level of viciousness that isn't commonly seen on the silver screen, one that expedited her rise through the ranks of organized crime in a dystopian post-nuclear America. In this video, we'll be covering her character as depicted in the film, as well as the arc we see in the short prequel comic serving as a companion to the film. Before she was Mama, Madeline was a lady of the night from the Pleasure District, living a despondent life held together by alcohol and substance abuse. To make things worse, she was under the employ of an overbearing procurer who regularly subjected her to violent beatings, with the evidence of it being the marks on her body, and most notably the scars on her face. Life moved in slow motion for her as she struggled to face the harsh reality of the present combined with the hopelessness of the future. It was never a bed of roses for her since childhood, with her parents being shot by the judges during a robbery gone wrong. Since then, she went from one foster home to another before hitting the streets of Mega City 1 in her teenage years to survive. Madeline was a trapped woman and one who hated what she had become. It is here that we see one of the key traits of her subsequent success, her ambition. Even after the decades of being beaten down, Madeline would not accept the hand that life dealt her and would seek to reshuffle her cards. But in Mega City 1, ambition alone gets you nowhere. The system is unfairly harsh towards those at the bottom, and those who would fight their way up would need to display a level of strength and commitment to rival those at the top. Beyond her coping mechanisms of herbs and strong drink, Madeline's one comfort in life was her boyfriend Eric, who was also her way out of her current predicament. Eric had developed a new substance which he called slow-mo, which when ingested would slow down the perception of time down to 1% of its normal speed. This slowing down of time proved to be a double-edged sword, being able to prolong the state of either pleasure or pain. The prospect of this substance represented Madeline's escape from her current life and the chance of a better future. But unfortunately, that future was threatened when her procurer found out about her relationship with Eric and killed him in a fit of jealousy. In that moment, Madeline snapped, and in a state of animalistic rage, she proceeded to emasculate her former employer in a barbaric fashion while he was intoxicated with the effects of her new drug. With a newfound sense of purpose fueled by her grief and anger, Madeline would set her sights at the top of the criminal underworld. The loss of her boyfriend wiped out any remaining shred of goodness in her already hardened heart, and the murder of her employer gave her the drive to begin her own criminal empire. Now going by the name of Mama, she formed the Mama clan and began her reign over the mega block of peach trees. In what could be seen as flipping the script, she takes over the 200 floors of the block in a top-down fashion, eliminating the three main rival gangs vying for control over the block. The details of her rise to power are glanced over, but it's safe to say that Mama's cause of success was her cold-bloodedness and her ability to resort to escalated levels of violence. Perhaps it's a venting of her own resentments in life, but it's clear that she takes pleasure in the pain of others. Collateral damage in the form of civilian deaths is also of no deterrence to her, as seen by how she was willing to take out the majority of an entire floor in an attempt to eliminate the two judges after her. The title of Mama itself is ironic, given its maternal implications. Instead of showing any care for the 75,000 inhabitants of her block, she terrorizes them and profits off their misery, with peach trees holding the record for the highest crime rate in its sector and a staggering level of unemployment. But the demonstration of this maternal implication is most notable in her threat to Dredd at the end, when she synchronizes her own heartbeat to the fate of the entire block. In essence, she is making the continued life of peach trees dependent on her own, much like how in real life the heartbeat of a baby in the womb is in sync with that of the mother's. In her ambitious state, Mama seeks to expand the distribution of her product to the other sectors, but that plan is jeopardized with her current obstacle, the arrival of Judge Dredd and Rookie Anderson, which creates the potential of the shutting down of her nefarious operation for good. Beyond her tragic past, which partially explains her propensity for evil, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the state of society, which no doubt would have been an influencing factor in her villainy. In a post-nuclear America, the problem of massive overpopulation brought with it the byproducts of rampant crime and corruption. In Mega City 1, it appears that a citizen would fall into one of either two categories: the conquerors or the conquered, the victors or the victims. In the film, we see this delusionment with society, not through Mama's perspective, but hinted through that of the corrupt Judge Lex, who after 20 years on the streets has abandoned hope for the city and labeled it a meat grinder, where all the judges can do amounts to just turning the handle. Either way, in his view, the city is irredeemable, and nothing he does would matter, so he might as well gain from its suffering. This hopeless view results in him and his colleagues throwing in the towel, becoming a corrupt judge who would kill his own kind for the sake of profit. So if someone like Judge Lex can become disillusioned with the state of society, how much of a chance would someone like Mama have from going astray, especially given her disadvantaged background from the downtrodden side of society to begin with? Even Judge Dredd himself displays noticeable pessimism, as seen when he scoffs at Rookie Anderson's goal to help the city. So while it doesn't justify her actions, Mama saw her chance to get out of the gutter, and she took it, despite it being at the expense of others. Besides, what is one more crime lord when the city is already chock full of them, and her evil would only be a drop in the bucket of the cesspool that is now the state of society. But despite her position of power, Mama's life of crime has taken a toll on her. There is a certain level of apathy reflected in her eyes, perhaps arising from the abuse of slow-mo, as drugs in real life have proven to have that effect. Perhaps in some way, this suppression of her emotions also enables her to commit her heinous crimes without guilt. It could also account for her ability to remain calm in the midst of pressure and to exhibit no fear or panic, even when Dredd has come to render judgment on her. Physically, the dark circles under her eyes indicate some adrenal fatigue, while her teeth are gnarly and stained, both of which again could be the result of the frequent use of slow-mo. Emotionally, it appears that there isn't much joy in her life, save for the moments where she indulges in her sadism. Other than that, we can only find one other instance where Mama appears to have some semblance of enjoyment, namely the time she spends in her bath, given the fact that she chooses to prolong her perception of time there. But even then, it's not a time where she feels absolutely at peace, as seen by her need to have bodyguards with her even in her most private moments. The fear of getting her just desserts, whether from the judges or from rival gangs, was one that plagued her constantly. We get confirmation of this fear in her confrontation with Dredd at the end, where she mentions that she knew that this day would eventually come. Perhaps this explains the armory just above her bed, where she needs to sleep within arm's reach of a weapon. Her fears were well-founded, for the day of judgment and her death sentence would eventually come, but not before she would attempt her most evil deed of taking down the block of peach trees along with her. At the end, Mama was a monster, a sadist shaped from the injustice of society, a victim of a bleak, dystopian city that was drowning in the filth of its crime and corruption. Seeing no other way out, she threw in her lot with the criminal elite and established her empire upon the misery of others, all while living in the dread of her inevitable punishment. So what do you think of Mama from Dredd, folks? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and take care.